Tampa Bay kicker Chandler Catanzaro went from goat to hero in a hurry today as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kicker hit a 59-yard field goal with just under 2 minutes remaining in overtime to lift the Buccaneers to a 26-23 win over the Cleveland Browns here in Tampa this afternoon. Catanzaro had already missed an early extra point and then a 40-yard field goal as time had expired in regulation, only to come back and have his heroics in one of the most toughest ways and toughest situations that one could ever imagine. Coach Dirk Cutter said he had no doubt that Catanzaro would be good on the kick. He said saw him hit from 61 yards in practice earlier this week. In fact, Cutter said he would have been the craziest man in the building if he hadn't hit it, because he was already halfway across the field by the time it went through. Talk about showing confidence in your kicker, as this has been a tough year once again on kickers in the NFL and in college football. It was a strange day as many crazy things happened in this game. The Buccaneers gave up a safety early, only to come back and score 16 unanswered points and take a 16-2 lead at halftime. Jameis Winston was at the hub of that as he scored on a 15-yard run, and then had gotten the offense to settle down early and execute, with the short routes, finding Adam Humphries, for example, Mike Evans on a couple. The Browns had taken Deshaun Jackson out of the game, and Jameis actually didn't connect with one of the speediest men in football until the overtime. What was amazing also was the fact that the defense had to bail the offense out here this afternoon. Even though Winston threw for 365 yards and led in rushing with 55, the defense, which has been probably the worst in the NFL to date this season, came up big in the mid parts of the games when the offense struggled. Myles Garrett, Cleveland's famed pass rusher, was able to make a living on the left side of the Tampa Bay Bucs offensive line as Garrett was able to get into the backfield and sack Winston twice. He also, one of those was a strip sack right at the outset of the second half that allowed for Cleveland to get back in the football game as Baker Mayfield hooked up with tight end David Njoku to cut it to a 16-9 game early in the second session. It was also an afternoon where the Buccaneers just couldn't find any sense of efficiency on offense and any consistency and continuity. Winston blamed himself for it, citing his 2 interceptions that he threw to 2 Cleveland linebackers, and Jamie Collins and Christian Kirksey, to be a definition of that. Winston's always looking at ways he can get himself better, and he says he has to stop throwing that football right into the bellies, right into the gut of the defensive players. One of them was on a pass play to O.J. Howard that looked like O.J. might be able to wrestle the ball through Collins, but it didn't happen. And then post-game, going back to the Catanzaro situation, the post-game was really interesting. The kicker became emotional because he felt like he'd let his players down, his teammates, and he also, may have been a little concerned about his job as kickers go. I mean, we never know, right? This is the NFL. The Buccaneers finally get back to 3-3. They go on the road for the next 2 weeks at Cincinnati and at the Carolina Panthers before returning here to the Ray J for the Washington Redskins on November 11. The final score here in Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers 26, the Browns 23 in overtime.